Have you ever wondered why some diseases seem to never have a cure? It's a question that has puzzled many for years, and the answer may lie in the complex world of the pharmaceutical industry. You see, the pharmaceutical industry operates on a business model that's often misunderstood. It's not as simple as creating a cure and selling it to the masses. No, it's a bit more intricate than that, and it's all about treatments. It's about managing symptoms and extending the duration of chronic diseases. Why? Because that's where the money is. Imagine you're a pharmaceutical company. If you invent a one-time cure for a disease, that's great for patients, but not so great for your bottom line. You sell your cure, the patient gets better, and that's the end of it. However, if you develop a treatment that manages the disease, the patient needs to keep coming back for more. They need your product to keep their symptoms at bay, and that means a steady stream of income for you. This isn't to say that every pharmaceutical company operates in this way, or that there aren't real cures being developed. But the structure of the industry leans more towards treatments rather than cures. The financial incentives, the research funding, the regulatory approvals, they all favor a model that keeps patients dependent on the industry. It's a harsh reality, but it's one that we must confront if we are to understand our healthcare system. The business of sickness is just that, a business. And like any business, it's driven by profit. This doesn't mean that there's no hope for change. There are numerous examples of pharmaceutical companies developing cures and making real strides in medicine, but it's important to understand the underlying mechanisms that drive this industry. Now, it's time to delve into some real-world examples. Let's take a closer look at the business of sickness and how it operates in the case of two chronic diseases, diabetes and cancer. The journey ahead might be a bit unsettling, but it's one that's necessary to comprehend the intricacies of our healthcare system. Take diabetes, for instance, a disease affecting millions globally. This chronic condition is a relentless opponent, demanding constant vigilance and management. People living with diabetes have to rely on medication to keep their blood sugar levels in check, and this is where the pharmaceutical companies come into play. The pharmaceutical industry has been instrumental in providing solutions for managing diabetes. They've developed insulin, metformin, and other medications that help diabetics live a more normal life. But the question that arises is, at what cost? You see, pharmaceutical companies are businesses at the end of the day. Their primary goal is to generate profit. And what better way to ensure a steady revenue stream than by providing treatment for a disease that requires continuous medication? This isn't to say that these companies don't contribute positively to the health sector, but it does paint a rather intriguing picture of their business model. Let's delve a bit deeper. Over the past couple of decades, the cost of diabetes medication has skyrocketed. Insulin, for example, a life-saving drug that has been around for nearly a century, has seen its price triple in just the past 10 years. And it's not because the process to produce insulin has become more expensive. It's primarily due to the price-setting strategies of pharmaceutical companies. This increase in price has created a heavy burden for those who need these medications the most. Many diabetics have found themselves in a precarious position, having to choose between purchasing their necessary medication or affording basic living expenses. In essence, the pharmaceutical industry has turned diabetes into a lucrative business. While they continue to rake in billions, millions of diabetics around the world struggle to afford the medication they need to live. This isn't an effort to demonize the pharmaceutical industry. They play a crucial role in our healthcare system. But it does raise some serious questions about the ethics and fairness of their pricing strategies and the impact they have on those who rely on their products for survival. Diabetes is just one example. Let's explore another. Scene script. Cancer, a word we all dread, but a goldmine for pharmaceutical companies. Let's delve into the case of cancer, a disease that's as complex as it is feared. It's a health battle that often demands a long-term, expensive treatment plan. And this, in a roundabout way, leads us to the pharmaceutical industry. The cost of cancer drugs can be astronomical. We're talking prices that can reach hundreds of thousands of dollars for a year's treatment. These exorbitant costs are often justified by the companies manufacturing them, citing the high cost of research and development and the small patient populations these drugs are intended for. But let's not forget that these prices also contribute significantly to the profit margins of these companies. Now let's consider the industry's focus on developing new cancer drugs. Every year, billions of dollars are poured into research and development. This drive for innovation is certainly commendable, as it leads to breakthroughs that can save lives. However, there's a catch. These new drugs often come with even higher price tags, making them inaccessible for many patients. The pharmaceutical industry is indeed a business, and like any business, it aims to make a profit. But the question we need to ask is, at what cost? The financial burden of cancer treatment can be devastating for patients and their families. It's a burden that can last long after the disease has been treated, adding a layer of financial stress to an already emotionally charged situation. Now, this isn't to say that all pharmaceutical companies are villains, or that they're not doing important work. They are, after all, in the business of saving lives. But it's crucial to remember that it's also a business of making money. And sometimes, those two objectives can clash in ways that leave patients caught in the middle. These case studies paint a grim picture, don't they? But it's not all doom and gloom. Is there a way to change this profit-driven model? We might wonder. The world of medicine and healthcare doesn't have to be an arena where the one with the deepest pockets wins. There are alternatives, and this scene explores some potential solutions to the business model that currently dominates the pharmaceutical industry. Firstly, let's consider the role of generic drugs. These are medications that have the same active ingredients as the original brand name drug, but are typically sold at significantly lower prices. By making use of these drugs, we can help to reduce the financial strain on patients without compromising their healthcare. However, the challenge is in ensuring the quality of these generics, and that's where government regulations come into play. Government regulations can play a pivotal role in making healthcare more affordable. By enforcing stringent quality checks on generic drugs, governments can ensure their safety and effectiveness. Moreover, governments can implement policies that encourage competition in the pharmaceutical industry, which can drive down prices. However, these regulations need to be enforced with vigilance and integrity to prevent any foul play. Lastly, we have consumer advocacy. This is the power of the people. By being aware and informed about the workings of the pharmaceutical industry, consumers can demand transparency and fairness. They can hold pharmaceutical companies accountable for their actions and push for reforms. This requires collective action and a shared vision for a more equitable healthcare system. In conclusion, the possibility of change in the pharmaceutical industry is not a distant dream. It's a tangible reality that can be achieved through the use of generic drugs, effective government regulations, and strong consumer advocacy. Each of these solutions presents its own set of challenges, but with determination and collective action, they can pave the way for a healthcare system that prioritizes the health of individuals over profit margins. Remember, change is possible, but it requires collective action. Let's be the change we want to see in the world. Let's recap what we've uncovered today. We've peeled back the layers on a complex and often misunderstood sector of our society, the pharmaceutical industry. We've taken a closer look at how the profit-driven model of this industry can create a business out of sickness, rather than focusing on the well-being of patients. Our journey began with a deep dive into the business of diabetes. We saw how the rising costs of insulin, a life-saving drug, are driven not by the costs of production, but by a system that places profit above patient care. Then, we turned our attention to the case of cancer treatment. We discovered that while advancements in medicine have led to more effective treatments, the cost of these treatments is often prohibitive for those who need them the most. Once again, we saw the hand of profit driving the decisions of pharmaceutical companies, often at the expense of patient health. But it's not all doom and gloom. We also explored the potential for change. We looked at how a shift in perspective from viewing patients as consumers to seeing them as people could transform the industry. We considered the possibility of regulations that put a cap on drug prices and the role of generic drugs in making healthcare more accessible. Throughout this journey, one thing has become clear. The power for change lies with us. By staying informed about the realities of the pharmaceutical industry, we can begin to advocate for a system that prioritizes health over wealth. We can demand transparency from pharmaceutical companies and push for regulations that ensure access to affordable healthcare for all. So let's not stop here. Let's continue to question, to learn, and to advocate for a healthcare system that truly serves its purpose. A system that prioritizes the well-being of patients over the profits of corporations. A system where the business of sickness is replaced by the business of health. It's time to question the business of sickness and demand a healthcare system that puts patients before profits. Please subscribe and love for more information and interesting videos.